You still at work, Brad?
No.
Yeah, I just walked in the door.
Okay, see if we got everybody there. I see it. Pro Tem, Councilman Altman,
Sir.
Town Clerk, and Miss Angie. You there?
Yes.
Okay, and I got Councilman Lee here with me. Miss Jackson, are you out there? Second call from Ms. Jackson. Ms. Parson, Ms. Jackson is connected. And I know Councilwoman Flegler will be about 10 minutes late. Administrator, and who else? James, looking for Mr. Stamper.
Mr. Mayor, he's working tonight.
Okay, all right. Okay, we'll get started here in a second. Also check on Councilwoman Anderson. I didn't hear her. I know I see her name up here, but please check on her.
I'm here.
Okay, all right, good.
Mayor McClare, Ms. Jackson says she can hear you, but you can't hear her. She can't be heard.
Yeah, that's not good. We need to hear the accountant. I can go mute. It won't make a difference. We need to hear the accountant.
Ms. Parsons, it's showing her muted on here.
All right, hold on. Let me see if I can. Yeah, let me see if I can do something about that. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
All right, Ms. Jackson. Blame it on me. It's me this time.
Okay.
Okay. We'll be getting started in a second. Okay, Council. Again, welcome to the Town of Andrews monthly council meeting. This is again our regular council meeting, and you take a look at the agenda. Shouldn't be any surprises there. We had the first reading for most of those last month, and one new business we will be discussing, which is the Census 2020, and a couple other highlights of the week. Probably the storm drain study that's ongoing, and give you a quick update on that. And then we'll again follow the agenda as published. So today is June 18th, 2020 at 6 p.m. and this meeting is officially called to order. Ms. Angie, could you lead us in the invocation, please?
Yes, sir. Let us bow our heads, please. Our most merciful Father God, we come before you, Lord, right now and to say thank you for this opportunity that you've given us, Father God, to do town business. We pray right now that we do what's right and give you the praise and the glory, oh Father God. Just remember us and keep us. Bless us. In Jesus Christ's holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please stand for pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mayor McCleary,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Bradley Prince,
Present.
Councilmember Anderson, Councilmember Anderson,
Here.
Councilmember Lee,
Yeah.
Councilmember Altman,
Present.
Councilmember Stamper, Councilmember Flagler.
Okay, we have a quorum, so we'll continue with the town's business. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes, which is the minutes that were published from Thursday, May 2020. So council, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we accept the minutes for Thursday, May 28th, as written.
Second.
Okay, it's moving properly second that we accept the minutes. Any discussion? No discussion. Minutes is accepted as written. Okay, council, I've got ahead of myself. We'll pause here and go back to the top of the agenda, which is the public hearing. And for the public, again, let me cover this real quick because again, this is very different from what we would do if we were in a inside of the facility. So what we've done to facilitate getting the public this information so they can look over those and provide their questions or make any comments. We sent these out and published them on Facebook, and we received one set of questions, and those were addressed from the administrator to that individual, and we also had one other. So at this time, we're going to pause and open up right now for public hearings on all of the items in which I read here: the proposed tall grass and weed ordinance. The other item is proposed ordinance to modify the purchase price of the burial plots in the town of Andrews Memorial Cemetery. And then the proposed water and sewer rate increase ordinance. And finally, proposed FY 2020-2021 operating budget. So those are the items up. And we again will pause. And if anyone out there that has any comment, please go ahead as directed on the agenda. Submit your questions or comments through the Facebook page, and they will be properly responded to. And
Mr. Mayor, as council, we'll have our time during the second reading, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Now, one thing to note, there were no changes. All discussion in the last meeting, if there were required, any adjustments were made. So that's why you all didn't see a new copy in your packet, because it remained the same. But again, we still can have some discussion once we get to that point in the process. Stand by, please. And it's important. It's also important to note that all of these ordinances are required to go through for a legal review prior to being voted into law. So for any question, I know that was one of the questions that came up from one of our citizens. But these are all vetted, and again, you will see similar with respect to like the the tall grass and weed ordinance, very similar to some of the other municipalities, and really, this is necessary because we're not necessarily in compliance in terms of keeping our residents and some of the commercial areas grass cut. Again, it becomes a SOI, and really devalues other people's property if we don't take care of our own law. And that's whether it's the town own it or business owner or a resident. We're required to do that, and so now we have a law that we're moving forward now to put in place so then that we can enforce that if necessary. But we would hope that in all of these things that we will comply with them so we won't have to write any citations. So it's kind of where we are. But again, all of these things are vetted through the attorney for legal review to ensure that we're not establishing laws that is not enforceable.
Mr. Mayor, it seems that Miss Susan Todd is asking when is the proper time, so I guess
When is what now?
Miss Susan Todd is asking in the comments when's the proper time to for her to speak. So I guess she needs to.
No, it won't be any speaking. The instructions that's here, all comments will be in writing so that can be a part of the file. So all those will be extracted and make a part of the minutes. So then it's on the Andrews.
So we won't address any questions that are commented, is what you're saying?
No, the instruction that went out last time, all comments will be submitted through writing. Again, that will become a part of the file. But once that's submitted during the meeting, we'll pull it up and I'll address it at that point in time. Because right now this is not the Facebook. Again, some of the limitation, it's open to all. So we don't know who are citizens or who is someone just have a general comment. So we want to, again, these are ordinance impact the citizens. So then those are the ones we want to address in the needs of the citizen, not necessarily anyone that has an opinion outside of the town of Andrews.
Yeah, but shouldn't the council be hearing the comments who?
They will. When I read those.
I'm just trying to understand how it's working.
Yeah. So it's all submitted. And for example, whenever she submit hers, the administrator or the clerk will pull those and then we'll read them over.
Okay.
Yeah.
To the council. Okay.
So everybody will hear it. But again, that will become a matter of record, and then we'll have that hard copy to submit as a part of the minutes. But did she submit hers on Facebook, or did she submit that through? Because I don't see it. I can't see it from where I'm sitting. And if you have their Pro Tem, go ahead and read it. I'll address it now.
Well, she's just asking when.
When?
Yeah. So
she can do it. She can submit it now. Yeah.
All right. I mean, I was trying to figure out how we was doing this to keep up. So
right. And let me cover the ones I have right here right now. And this is from Mr. Sid Ackerman. And and it's very, very, very long. And so I'll hit the highlights on the concerns he expressed. So number one is the easement, and the alleyways and many of the easements border multiple properties. So originally these were responsibilities of the town, but now are derelict. And said if they are bordered by two properties, the alleys and the ditches, who is responsible? So again, the response in regards to the alleys and the new Public Works Director has been addressed in all of the locations to come up with a plan. So the bottom line is that the alleys still belong to the town, and he's absolutely right. Our responsibility is to maintain those, and those are definitely on Mr. Rivers's list of things to do to maintain that. So the bottom line is we all are held to the same standards, regardless whether it's town's property, commercial, or resident. We're responsible to keep those up and get them into, and again, this will be applied with common sense. We're not going out tomorrow and sending out a code enforcement person so if they read the ordinance, it will explain the process to them. This is not a got you kind of thing here. We just have to have these tools in place for those small percentage who won't comply, and we have to have a mechanism to make this thing work if we're going to improve the appearance of the town. And I'll continue with Mr. Ackerman's comments. Second one is enforcement officer can enter any property, so it gives the town the right to go onto any property without cause. And if he discovers a police matter, so the police can use it as an excuse, and it will be argued in court. Well, again, these have been vetted, and again, through the process, the resident or whomever is in violation will have every opportunity multiple opportunities to correct the problem. And then if that doesn't happen, then it's the town's responsibility then to police up these areas, and that cost, as outlined in the ordinance, will be assessed to the owner of said property. This is not, again, it's like all laws will be followed. This is not I got you. This is not giving the police officer or code enforcement officer to use the tall weed grass ordinance looking for something else. That's not the intent, and that will not be, it's not going to be tolerated. It won't be. So then you can not be concerned about that. We'll address it if it happens. Third one, the town has issues related to this that are the town's responsibilities. Picking up the limbs is always behind, and the nuisance caused by the town. The ditches are overgrown in many areas, etc. Well, the ditches, as we've talked about this on several occasions, ditches and roads and those sideways belong to the state. Yes, it's a problem. We are working with the state to address those issues. Sure, it won't happen overnight, but again, this policy applies to all that has property, landowner in Andrews. And again, the town, the limb pickup is once a year or twice a year now. We have a procedure, and twice a year, that's a spring and fall cleanup. So then if I decide to cut mine in between those times, it's my responsibility to move those limbs to the recycling bin. That's always been there. It's open, it's free. Anything that's associated with any storm, then those things will be cleaned up through FEMA. You know, if it's deemed a natural disaster, then we will get support for that. And many times the town have gone out again as a part of these twice a year cleanup to address those things. And we ask that, you know, just give us a call, and Mr. Rivers and all of them put it on the list, but twice a year, because right now those are not, it's not like a routine trash pickup. These are seasonal activity. And again, it's twice during spring cleanup and fall. And this cleanup, the spring cleanup, was interrupted obviously by what we're dealing with now with the environment. We will get back on track and then get this spring cleanup done. It'll be close to the summer now, so that's still on tap. Number 4, no provision for weather or other extenuating circumstances on the cost. Example being hurricane or disaster. Again, I just addressed that. If those things, we apply common sense to all ordinance or any of our things, we apply common sense to it. So if debris is caused by that, then we will adjust accordingly, and you will not be fined or cited for not being in compliance with the policy. And number 5, is perfect. I'm not so sure. It's selective enforcement charges. The town does not keep a large portion of its own grass cut. Maybe this is better now. But I know the cemetery was a huge issue by itself. Well, that has not been an issue lately. Again, there's a contract that goes out to cut the cemetery. And again, just like anything else, you know, it's twice, you know, try to get it done twice a month and take care of those things. So again, the town has responsibility for its own areas, and we will hold ourselves accountable for that. And number 6, the timing. You're raising fees, but want to burden the taxpayers for more. The issues that people have with flooding have not been dealt with, and we are adding new fees to the restrictions. Again, any fees, the only thing that you see here is a part of the agenda, which is the water and sewer rates. And again, that's out of Andrews's hand. That is court ordered by DHEC because of the system that has been failing since the late 1990s. And so a consent order was placed on the town that we have to do is water and sewer fees are separate from the general fund. And so those fees have to be enough. You have to generate enough water and sewer fees to sustain the system. Currently, we're having to pull over $150,000 out of the general fund to support water and sewer expenses. So then as DHEC placed this order, just like any other court order, we have to be in compliance with that. But what we've been able to do over time, over the last 4 or 5 years, is negotiate a very low rate. So this year, the rate is 3.25. Again, through a lot of assistance from others, we've come to that level, and prayerfully next year, if we can then find other cost savings, they would be much lower or perfectly go away. But we can't right now. We have it programmed out through 2025. And over the next few years, it'll get lower from 3.25 to 1% and eventually go away where the system can sustain itself. And that's by law, that those monies can only go to water and sewer, and it has to be able to sustain itself. And again, we're somewhere in the neighborhood of $150,000 to $160,000 short in terms of generating that. So the loss of Oneida, the fact that these systems was not upgraded. Many of you know that we still have clay pipes, and the challenges we have out there that we have to maintain your 14 or 15 lift stations. All those things have to be maintained, and again, your water and sewer dollars pay for that. And so when we coming into this administration, when you're $500,000 short on funds that have not been paid, water used but not paid, that has a great impact. We don't have that challenge now. We're still collecting for those delinquent fees. And then some of the other initiative we've enforced or applied that now has reduced those fees. But again, we're under the court order. We're going to have to comply with that. So again, we're very fortunate that we didn't have to go above 3.25%. And in many cases, that's about $2 or $3 added to your bill. So if you're paying $70 and you're probably paying 73. And again, it depends on your use, and that could change based on number of people, whatever the case may be. And you got to take into account too during this time in COVID-19 a lot. I'm using a lot more water than I did in the past. So you can see the spike. A lot of things drive that. You brush your teeth, anytime that faucet comes on, that meter turns and it's generating your volume cost. So it's kind of where we are in terms of fees. So we don't have a choice there to raise that. There's no other taxes that's been applied other than hospitality, and that's on hold right now. Again, those are the only fees that we were mandated to apply to the citizens for the 2020-2021 budget cycle. And I don't apologize for having to go through all of that, because it's important that we all understand how this happened, because it's not the council that's coming up with great ideas. It's these things that we are mandated to do. So it's important you understand the details behind it and how we got here. It didn't happen overnight. It won't go away tomorrow. But we'll continue to work on it and try to come up with creative ways to reduce any impact on our citizens. And move down to number 7. Number 7 on Mr. Sid Ackerman's list of questions is the liability. And again, we talked about that. These things are vetted through the attorney, so then we know we're within compliance and we can enforce these. That is the role of the council, to govern the town and to set guidelines, reasonable guidelines for public safety and all things matter to ensure we have a better quality of life for the citizens, and that's one part of it. And again, defining the grass and lot and parcels, and this question is if the lot is wooded or partially concrete, then do you measure the weeds that are left? Well, we're not going out there with a ruler. I think you can clearly see what 6 inches look like. And again, if it's your property and there's grass or any kind of debris, we're going to address all of these things. We have all of this going into effect with the dilapidated building, all those things that make our town unappealing, if you will be addressed. And this is just another step in that process, because the tall weed and grass is not necessarily addressing the dilapidated building policy or ordinance. This gets to that, because we still have, even if your resident is in good shape, if your grass is 6 to 8 inch high that you haven't rented out, then that causes a problem for your neighbors. You got all kinds of things coming in there that creates an unsafe environment for your neighbors. And so again, this kind of addresses that. And again, what we applied with common sense. Okay, so that's all. Those are the eight items we had from Mr. Sid Ackerman. I'm sorry, Sid Ackerman. And do we have anything else from the any other questions on or comments from the public that we can see on the Facebook page or from the town's email address? Madam Administrator.
There are no additional questions that I can see via email, and we are waiting. I think someone wanted to ask something via Facebook, but we have not seen a question come through yet. Okay,
thank you. Okay, we'll give it another minute or so, and then we'll move on through the agenda. Okay, and again, we'll close the public hearings at this time, but again, I still invite citizens to submit those things through the town email address because they're still important to us, and you may not have an opportunity now, but we certainly want to hear from you. So please submit it to the Town of Andrews email site that is also on the agenda that's been posted. And at this time, the public hearing is closed. We'll move on back to the agenda. And right now we're at item number 6, which is the monthly bank statements. And the council asks for your review. And if any questions, I ask that you go ahead and present those to Ms. Jackson here as she presents us with the financial report. Ms. Jackson.
Good evening. I hope everyone's doing well and staying safe. For your report ended for May 31st, 2020, as you can see, your expected percentage is about 91.67%. And looking at your summary page there, you can see most departments are under that percentage, except for administration, which we can explain that when we get to that page. Flipping over to page 2 and 3, the general fund revenue. Our first line item there, real property tax. You did collect another $17,667 during the month of May. And as you can see, you've exceeded your budget by $30,000 through the end of May. Line 4016, that you still have a significant amount to be collected in that, but that's normal because your large payments for that do not come in until June. 4026, franchise fee, you received $102,000 from Duke Energy during the month of May, as I think Ms. Dorsey pointed that out at our last meeting. And so that has brought you to exceed your budget also on this line item. And flipping over to the page 3, you're showing that you're short budget by $478,000, but $250,000 of that is where you had planned to use your fund balance. So you're good on your budget, did revenues, except for that line item that we've expected the money to come in during the current month. Let's flip over to page 4 for administration. There's nothing truly significant that occurred during the month of May other than on page 5, line 7,000, which is about 3/4 of the way down the page. You did pay another $103,287 to GMK for the new public safety building, but I believe that should be reimbursed when the sales tax money is available. And that is the item that is really shows your budget over, shows this department as being over budget. Since you have kind of a full agenda tonight, I'm going to flip over to page 14 on water and sewer. As you can see, your revenues for the water and sewer department are both exceeding or are where we expect to be for the month ended May 31st. Your salaries and fringe benefits are in good shape also. And then the only significant item there is you did pay, you paid your normal monthly fees to Georgetown County Water and Sewer, and to the City of Georgetown. And some basic repairs and maintenance during the month. That's a brief overview, but if there are any questions on any departments or anything that I didn't cover, I'll be happy to try to answer those now.
Let me add some little context to the funds. I think we're all aware of it, but for the funds that are going out for the design phase of the municipal complex. Again, we're all aware that that's going out. We're still paying those. Those invoices have been submitted, with the exception of the most recent one. Have been submitted along with a letter to the administrator and the council in Georgetown. So we're expecting the reimbursement, and from that point, all invoices should go to them and then paid down through the money as they funnel down from the state directly to the contractor. So we're keeping tabs on that, obviously. So again, so we can get properly reimbursed and keep moving this project forward. And that's kind of a little update on those dollars that are going out in support of that project. And that's all I have. Any questions from Ms. Jackson?
Yeah. Ms. Jackson, on page 1, our revenues is a negative $478,000. Is there any projection of us making that up, or how much by the end of the month?
Well, 200, if you look on page 3.
Yeah, about 250,000 is from the fund balance, right?
Right.
The other
And
200,000, 225.
And then that line 4016 on page 2, insurance and telecom tax, is about 225,000.
Okay.
And that typically comes in late June.
Okay. So between that and the fund balance, we should be right on point.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Jackson? Okay, so we'll move down to new business. The first thing on the agenda for new business is the census. And real quick, I won't spend a whole lot of time again because we have a full schedule here. But I should, because it's important. This 2020 census, and I'll kind of highlight some things, the importance of us filling out, taking that 3 to 5 minute time to fill out these things. Again, you're just giving the numbers in your household. And here's what comes with that. It's all federal dollars that support a lot of important programs and efforts, again, to provide a quality, better quality of life for the citizens of South Carolina. And if we don't fill these out, then those dollars will go to somewhere else. And currently, right now, for the programs, I highlight a couple of things. What's paid out of these dollars? Again, for us, simply this filling out this survey. We get dollars, the state get dollars for the seniors, for all the veterans program, colleges, special education for our kids, housing assistance comes out of these dollars, outreach and employment. Again, if you for the employment center down in Georgetown, all these dollars kind of go to these different places. Economic development. It also provides funding for small businesses, disaster relief, and again, we're sitting in a prime avenue for things for bad weather. So again, these dollars go to that. They go to the first responders who are out assisting with those the damages when occurred during that time. And community facilities, tourism, parks. So it's a lot that goes into this thing, and so then it's critically important that we take those 3 minutes, and again, to fill this out, and we'll be done with it. And those things will go into the overall count. Currently, where we're standing right now, they track this by municipalities, counties, and state. And currently, right now, South Carolina sits at about 50, as of June 7th, about 55.5% complete. Georgetown County, as of the 7th of June, is 44.2%. That's the county. The city of Georgetown is at 46.8% complete, which kind of ranks them at 137th out of 271 cities in the state. Andrews right now is ranked at has completed about 38.4%, And we're right now at 199 out of 271 cities and towns in terms of completion rate. And then the town of Pawleys Island at a 5.8% complete. And so we're making a big push right now, again, to get folks attention on that. I know a lot of things are challenging us right now, but we have to take that time. It's a very simple process. They gave us 3 means to do that now. I think probably the simplest way is to call the 1-844-330-2020, and they will walk you through that process. And it's probably about 10 questions they ask, and you're done. And you'll get a number, and they're tracking you at that point in time. This survey can't be used for anything else. This is not. It can't. I mean, this information is protected under the HIPAA and all those other things that protect your information. So it can't be used in law enforcement or none of that business. It's strictly to do a head count in the state, again, so funds can come in and support these programs I just read off. So that 1-888-330-2020 is probably the fastest way. They'll walk you through that. The other means, if you go to my2020census.gov, then you'll get that form. And again, it'll take you about 3 minutes to fill out. And of course, I think all of us should have received the forms through the mail. So those are the 3 different ways that we can fill this form out. And just for example, if 100 people are not counted, if 100 people decide to not fill this out, that's going to cost the state $2.6 million. So it's about $2,600 per person. That kind of averages out what will come to the state where we simply take the time to do that. And again, these funds also go to those grants that we've been very fortunate to get to upgrade the water and sewer system. We receive, I think, somewhere between $3 to $5 million to upgrade our system. And think about that. The connection to that is that we get this grant money, fix our water and sewer, then that's less taxes we have to charge the people. So it has great benefit, and it's connected to all things. So I encourage everyone to go out and do that and get it done. Let's do that quickly. And then we'll be done with it and we'll move on. And this is every 10 years. You think about in 10 years, these kind of funds and how it impacts our future leaders, our kids coming through in these programs. So it's very important we do this. And I'll pause there. And again, to continue to place emphasis on that, tomorrow we will, we're very fortunate to have the Eastern Coast Recovery Group come to town and offer free fruits and vegetables. There's a box of all goodies that are coming. It's been posted on Facebook. Please go there for the detailed information. But they will be in town tomorrow to provide fresh fruits and vegetables and other items that are, I think, masks and all those things, kind of things you need that cost some money, that you can get very free through this food drive tomorrow. And that's June 19th, 2020, 11 to 2 p.m. And it'd be 303 East Main Street. That's at the old movie gallery area where Radio Shack is. And we fenced off the first hour of the food donations to our seniors. And once we get them through, then I'll be opening up. And we're looking at right now somewhere between 350 and 400 boxes of goodies that we will present to our citizens. So please take advantage of that and go to the website or the Facebook page now for more information. But at that site, we'll also have people assisting you with the census survey, as well as voters registration. Okay. And obviously we have that. It's voting year. So we need to get all of our citizens and be a part of this thing. This is your voice to make a difference one way or the other. But we need to get registered to vote. We should. And then we need to take advantage of this census, these federal dollars that can come through once we give our head count for the state. Okay. So I'll leave that there, and any questions, go ahead and send those to us or post them and we'll address those in reference to anything I just talked about. Council, any comments on the Census 2020?
Sure, Mr. Mayor, I commend the town and the administration doing that as well. There's a lot of groups out there that are help pushing this. One that I got a text from that I just want to recognize, the youth group from Trinity United Methodist, and they're getting out and pushing this. They're not just saying, hey, fill out your census. They went through detailed information, just like you said, South Carolina right now is 49 out of 50 states in participation, and also the exact number you get for the town of Andrews. So they're out trying to help with that as well. So I just wanted to commend them on that.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Yeah, you're absolutely right. There are some people pushing it, and but we all need to come on together and help them out, and let's lead this effort. Let Andrews be the one. In fact, I have a put a little friendly wager with Mayor Barber out there, which is probably an ice cream or something. We'll exchange based on where our town or city is with respect to census survey. So let's go ahead and get after Georgetown and out survey them, if you will. All right. So good stuff. Any other comments on the 2020 census? Okay, we'll move down to item B, which is the second reading of ordinance number 2020-03. That is the proposed tall grass and weed ordinance. Council, what's your pleasure?
Second.
Okay, so moving properly second that we accept the second reading of ordinance number 2020-03, the proposed tall grass and weed ordinance. Ready for the discussion?
Yes, of course, Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Is Mr. Carter on with us?
He's not on here tonight.
Okay, so I guess something that, we're supposed to be looking out for the safety of the town. I'm just worried or need to be addressed, the liability. I understand it says if, anything's done to a building or vehicle, but if the town is at the point we have to send somebody to cut the grass and we hit a fiber optic line or something like that, that gets very costly. Who is going to be responsible at that point? I don't know that you could throw it back on the homeowner per se.
Yeah, the thing is, those things you can't do it. And this is not digging. We're not doing any digging. We're only addressing the tall weed. But if anything unfortunate like that, we still required any digging to call 811 for any digging. We're not going to do that. This is only to address the tall grass.
We had a lot that was very much higher than 6 inches. There's some out there that are 10 or 12. And we send somebody out there to cut, they can't see such as a gas line or a fiber optic line that might be on the corner of the property, and we hit that. Because they're gonna, these fiber optic lines can get up, if they get cut up in the $15,000-$20,000 range, who's gonna be liable for that? That's my question.
And that's also addressed in the ordinance on any responsibility, any damages, those things addressed. But to your question, we will ask that specifically again, just for clarification.
Well, if that's the case, I would like to see it in here because it just says vehicles, landscape, and trees.
All right, we'll definitely add that to it.
Just to cover.
Okay, that's a good point.
I have a question. If we send something, will it be a hired contractor to go in there, or will we have our town people cleaning those lots if they have to do that, cut the lawn?
Most likely we'll bring someone in because again, we have our hands full with other things. And we would hope that we won't have to get to this, but if we do, then we'll bring in, potentially bring in someone else, but we do have the ability to do that. All the option, I should say. All right, any other questions on that?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I had a question from a resident here in town.
Mhm.
I know this is covering the grass and the weed ordinance, and you already talked about the debris. Does this also cover trash and like used vehicles and just stuff that people have piled up in the yards that are eyesores? Or because the person called about this specific residence has a lot of stuff in it and it's holding a lot of water, and they were worried about when the mosquitoes come out, if that was if this ordinance would, or do we have an ordinance in place that covers, like trash and just junk cars or whatever people's got piled up in the yards?
Okay, I don't have the ordinance in front of me. I think we do have something that addresses those. What I will do is cross-reference the ordinance right now, the dilapidated building ordinance, and see if those specific things are addressed. And then we may have to modify this to get after those things.
Thank you, sir.
But we'll get back with the council before we move forward with that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. It's a good question.
Mayor, there is an ordinance in the town code. It is 14.0 817 in regards to nuisances, creating and maintaining. So that would fall under that junk car, or the junk car would fall under that ordinance or town
Okay.
code.
Okay, all right, thank you, ma'am. All right, so again, just like our ordinance was written in 2003, and I think there's a pretty good ordinance, but we just have not enforced it. We have not followed those kind of nuisance things, and now we see the results of that. So we have to start somewhere, and this is going to be here. So we'll add that. Again, we don't have to add anything to that now. We'll just, again, enforce those existing ordinances. Okay. Okay. Any other question? All right. The discussion is closed at this point in time. Barring any adjustments required by the attorney with respect to the question that was brought up by Pro Tem. Council,
Mr. Mayor,
yes, sir.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I do have one more question. I didn't see my notes.
Okay.
And you might have touched base a little bit when Mr. Ackerman earlier in the public hearing, but as far as DOT and Duke Energy and such, how are we going to police or enforce or?
Well, we'll have to, just like some of the other things we've addressed. I think with Mr. Timmy Britt, we've established a pretty good working relationship. They like not making any excuses. Everybody has a tall order to get things done, but I think the way we enforce that, I don't think we're going to be able to cite them.
Right.
But through letters up through, we'll start at his level, and if we don't get any movement there, we'll go to Florence, and then finally up to the Secretary of Transportation if we have to go that far up.
All right, thank you, sir. Sorry.
No, that's good stuff. That's a good question. Because I probably have misspoke when I was talking earlier about that. But yeah, those entities, not so sure in terms of how do you cite them, other than just appealing to the senior leadership to to take care of their responsibility in the town, just like the roads and bridges. But we'll work that. Okay, council, we're at the ready for the vote for the second reading of ordinance number 2020-03, proposed tall grass and weed ordinance. Ready for the vote?
Mayor McClary,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Lee,
Yes.
Councilmember Altman,
Yes.
Councilmember Stamper, Councilmember Flagler.
She's there. Let me see if she's muted.
Her system's not, it's muted, look like.
Okay, well, we have
Councilmember Flagler?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I said yes.
okay, now the motion is carried. The ordinance is now law. And again, before we publish this, we will ensure go through another review again to address the concerns of the questions brought up by both the Pro Tem and Councilman Altman. Okay. All right, moving on down to the second reading of ordinance number 2020-05, which is the proposed ordinance to modify the purchase price of the burial plots within the Andrews Memorial Cemetery. Council, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion, we accept the second reading of ordinance 2020-05, an ordinance amending the purchase price of a plot in the Andrews Memorial Cemetery.
Second.
Okay, it's been moving properly second that we accept the second readings of ordinance number 2020-05, proposed ordinance to modify the purchase price of the burial plots within the Andrews Memorial Cemetery. Ready for the discussion? No discussion, ready for the vote?
Mayor McClary,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Lee,
Yes.
Councilmember Altman,
Yes.
Councilmember Stamper, Councilmember Flagler.
Yes,
Okay, motion is carried. This proposed ordinance is now law. Moving on down to the second reading of ordinance number 2020-06, the proposed ordinance to modify the town of Andrews water and sewer rates. Council, what's your pleasure?
Ordinance to modify the town of Andrews water and sewer rates.
Second.
Okay, it's moving properly second that we accept the second readings of ordinance number 2020-06, proposed ordinance to modify the town of Andrews water and sewer rates. Any discussion? No discussion, ready for the vote?
Mayor McClary,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Lee,
Yes.
Councilmember Altman,
Yes.
Councilmember Stamper, Councilmember Flagler.
Yes.
Okay, motion is carried. This ordinance will go into effect on 1 August. Not next month, but 1 August. That gives us some time for adjustment. And again, as we look at the what that means in terms of a 3.25% increase, which is about for the citizens that are inside of the city limits, we're talking about $1.70 overall increase. And if you're outside, obviously for those that are outside that are not taxpayers inside the city of Andrews or the town of Andrews, those changes will average somewhere in the neighborhood of about $2.57. And again, you got to, again, that's kind of self-explanatory. If you're not, things are a little bit higher for those that are outside and on our systems. So that's kind of where we are. Okay, and we're moving right along to E on the agenda here, which is the second reading of ordinance number 2020-07. And this is the proposed FY 2020-2021 annual operating budget ordinance. Council, what's your pleasure?
May I make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance number 2020-07, FY 2020-2021 annual operating budget ordinance.
Second.
Okay, it's been moving properly second that we accept the second reading of ordinance 2020-07, proposed ordinance, proposed FY 2020-2021 annual operating budget ordinance for the town of Andrews. Ready for the discussion?
Mayor McClary,
Yes, ma'am.
may I read that ordinance, please?
Yes, please.
Proposed ordinance number 2020-07, the FY 2020-2021 annual operating budget. Be it ordained by Mayor and Council of the Town of Andrews that the fiscal year 2020-2021 annual operating budget is as follows. General fund revenues, $1,918,550. General fund expenditures, $1,918,550. Millage rate of 137. Water and sewer fund revenues, $1,835,092. Water and sewer fund expenditures, $1,835,092. This ordinance shall be effective on the date of its final reading at the town of Andrews, South Carolina.
Okay, council, you hear the reading for this ordinance, which again is the 2020-07 proposed FY 2020-21 annual operating budget. Any discussion?
Yeah, I guess just following up with the question I had at the first reading. We're just going back and talking with department heads that all this is the adjustments and all they can live with it or don't have any issues or see a big foreseeable problem in the future before we get 6 months into this.
Yes, this process includes all the department heads, multiple iterations of it. And again, what it boils down to, if my memory serves me right, the initial submittal of their budget probably put us somewhere in the neighborhood of about $2 or $3 million over what we can afford over revenue that we generate. So as we all know, that process now you have to cut and then look at things that are critical to the operation to maintain the town, to operate the town. And so across every department, we had to take cuts. All 5 of the departments had to take cuts down to, again, those critical items. Not a whole lot of room for nice to have things. So yes, this was somewhat wasn't as painful, but again, they have all the necessary items, funds for that. As we know right now, Public Works is probably our most challenged department because it does not have, we cannot afford the manpower that it requires to maintain the system. That's both the sewer and water system, as well as the town, streets and sanitation. We were able to add this time I think in the last 5 years, we were without a director. We now have a director then who has all of the qualifications to manage this department and manage it properly and to find us. He's already started to find us ways to save money and being efficient in other areas. We also added one other person to that department. And so, and that's huge. We weren't able to do that in the past. So we're very fortunate there. We were able during this budget cycle is to get our employees to somewhat of a competitive rates or salary as some of the other similar sized towns. It's still not there yet. That's why our ability to keep people here is challenged because we can't pay them the money that they should be earning. And again, they're not asking for anything that's outrageous. It's that we weren't there. But every year, our employees have been receiving incremental increases in their pay again, and you're seeing them now and starting to stay around longer. That's to include the police department. We're able to get qualified officers in here and to keep them on station for longer than a quarter. Other things we're able to do is then add 2 trucks to the public works fleet. Those will be coming in shortly. Some other highlights, I think, and also a staff vehicle that, again, because our clerk of court travels sometimes twice a day to the detention center for bond hearing. And those things that, again, that we didn't have, we can either continue to play mileage. It was smarter to go with the route that we all decided to go is, again, to get a vehicle for those administrative kind of movements. It's a very small, inexpensive vehicle, but it saves us over time. And so it's things like that we had to make those tough decisions to add those things to the fleet. And prayerfully, this USDA loan that we have been working for the last 4 years will come through, and that will address some of the major needs like the vac truck for public works. And I think there's also a service truck that's in that grant loan that we will get from USDA. So looking at several different places, ways to try to, again, to manage this budget and then keep quality people on staff. So that's kind of where it is. But everyone right now, again, and I'll tell you, everyone will tell you, I will say the same thing. We need more. We're looking at the county again to up their fees for our fire department, who's really right now covering about 6 mile radius of county area when it comes down to first responding stuff. You know it firsthand, Mr. Pro Tem, that you guys are doing a lot of the lift assist. So we requested through the county to increase those fees, which we haven't had increased over the last 32 years. So the cost of doing business, maintaining our vehicles, all those things we use for that service, for those purposes that we're not being compensated for. So all those things that we're looking at getting rid of some of those contracts we've had that weren't necessary. For example, our elevated tower. And so the maintenance of those things is not as frequent as we have been paying for. So we're working down to get out of that, and if we can, or at least get it to where we need it, and that will probably save us about $50,000 a year. So things like that. It's a delicate balance. We're telling the department heads right now it's going to be managed very closely. So it's upon them to manage their personnel, overtime, and all that stuff, because sometimes people think overtime is there to increase their salary, and it's not. And so we have to add some discipline to our budget to ensure that we stay within that and be able to move through this year without any problems. We're still sitting still in the black. We're doing well in terms of our ability to pay our bills and do those kinds of things. And in January, we will do a mid-budget review to see if we need to adjust funds somewhere else, because as we all know, budget is your best guess based on your past performances and where you need to place money. And so if we get to that point and we're doing well in some areas, then we'll come back to the council and make a recommendation to move funds somewhere else where it's probably needed. And then so we have those measures in place that we can manage throughout the year and not surprisingly find ourselves short in any particular area. So yes, sir. There's a long answer to your question, but yeah, those guys, the department heads are involved and we're going to make it work.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thanks so much. We haven't voted yet, have we?
No, sir.
We got lost on this thing. All right. So any other discussion? Any other questions on the budget? All right, council, we're ready for the vote.
Mayor McClary,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
Councilmember Anderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Lee,
Yes.
Councilmember Altman,
Yes.
Councilmember Samper, Councilmember Flagler.
Yes.
Okay, that's unanimous in terms of all the council members here. So they had the ordinance number 2020-07 now proposed 2021 annual budget is now approved, and again will go in effect as 1 July for the budget, and it'll be 1 August for any water rate increase. Okay, down to number 9, the mayor's report. And again, I want to take this opportunity to open it up to the council too, because if you have anything you want to put out now, we'll start with our Mayor Pro Tem.
I'm good, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, sir. Councilman Altman.
Yes, sir. I was just had a question on about this literature that was in our packet this time from Mr. McCray.
Yeah, I think it's for reading. I don't want to undermine or not undermine. I don't want to make it less. It's he generally publishes his thoughts, and he'll distribute those throughout the town. And I think he provided each council member a copy of it. And this is the first I've seen in a long time. And so when that happens, we want to make sure it gets to the council members. But it's his independent thoughts on whatever the topic is. So I'd say if there's something in it that alarms you, we can address that. But it's for your pleasure.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay. Councilwoman Flagler.
Good afternoon. I just would like to thank you, Mayor McClary. I noticed that I addressed the issue about the road or the street condition on Beach Street. And shortly after that, they came and they filled in the holes. They didn't bring the metal stuff, but at least they filled the holes in, and it's much better. And I was going to address the deep hole that was on the side of H&S, but I rode by there before I came in and realized that they filled that in. So I'm very appreciative for, they are trying to do the best they can with our streets and road conditions. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I could attribute that to Mr. Rivers and his team out there for getting after those, and to Councilman Lee, who is always out there on the ground and highlighting those things. So it's a team effort, and I give all the credit to those guys out there on the ground. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Anderson.
Yes, Mayor. I have an announcement. Well, I have an announcement first. Tomorrow at Thomas Chapel AME Church, they're going to be Helping Hands of Andrews going to be giving out food starting at 9 o'clock. And all you have to do is drive up, show your driver's license, they'll take a picture of it and give you a bag of food. And that starts at 9 o'clock tomorrow. And they're planning from 9 to 11, but just as soon as they give out all the bags, they're going to leave. So it starts at 9. Okay.
Okay.
The other thing, the public, are we on schedule with our public safety town hall complex?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we on schedule.
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And we'll give you another one of those schedules so you can follow along. In fact, we had a virtual meeting with them earlier this week, and again, I met this morning with their lead rep. And so here, and I'm glad you brought that up. This on July 6th is when that date is the date scheduled for the demolition of the existing fire department. So we have some work to do. to get their relocation site operational. Right now, I don't have any concerns of that being up. But I do have a concern about what do we do with the old fire engine, and where does it go? I don't have an answer for that, but we're gonna have to figure that out here real soon. So those guys are ready to go, and right now just waiting on us to do the demo of. Waiting on us to move all of our property out of that building, and I think for the most part for the fire department, police department, and some of Public Works supplies, they've moved out for the most part. But there's still some stuff. What's left in there will be demoed and moved out. Again, we want to make sure that we're taking care of the town's property, those things that can be salvaged or that we need to dispose of properly, actually get moved out here in the next couple of days. But we're on schedule. I'm pretty happy with their progress.
I'm finished. Thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor, may I come back?
Yes, sir.
That kind of sparked something. I noticed on county council meeting the other night, the surplus money was pretty much put to the side for a while, more or less, you could say. I knew we were at $3 million from the county at one point, but I knew that the building that you showed us a couple months ago was in the neighborhood of 3.8, 3.9. So what are we doing to address that shortage there?
I think there's still some misunderstanding what the excess dollars are. If they carefully read the referendum, these 5 projects, which includes the Andrews project, are priority. And so those projects, those 5 to include, it was the dredging for Winyah, and I think 2 dredging projects up there. There was the Andrews facility, and there were roads and roads repair and resurface. And then there was a construction, I think, of about 7 or 9 sub fire stations. The law, not the decision of the council, but the people of this county voted on those 5 projects. The language in that referendum clearly states that those projects have to be filled to its entirety, whether you underestimate it or not, and it should recover all things when it comes down to construction, to include demolition, all things. And so I think there's a misunderstanding, but they're going through the process now because I think they're looking at access dollars in a different way than we are. But we've already had legal reviews on it. I'm not concerned about. I think it's a process they have to go through. We have a new administrator and some new members on the council. So I think they'll get that. They've had their first reading and they'll go through that. And that's why we're still paying the money, addressing the invoices now with respect to for the initial work, the environmental study and some of the other work. We're paying for that now and get reimbursed later, but I'm not concerned with that. 3 million, I know, again, those are some sidebar conversation. There has never been anything in writing. We have to, again, go to the referendum and read that, and it clearly states that we're in good shape. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Is the county okay with what we're doing? And to this point, I'm just worried about us demoing a building that we don't have the funds. They're not going to release the funds available is what I'm asking. I understand there's a legal part, but I mean, is it going to get tied up in court is my question. And are we going to have a new building?
No. And that doesn't impact the work that we're doing. We've already if you recall, we had a budget adjustment a few months ago to allocate those funds to build a temporary relocation. So these dollars have nothing to do with that. We're moving forward. That building will be up. We already have the new town hall annex and all those things. So we have the facilities to move to. That has zero impact on relocating. It's just moving forward with the completion of the entire project is what they need to go ahead and move beyond.
All right. Sir.
Yeah. So yeah, but and what I'm setting up for council, probably through this kind of a venue, to get a detailed laydown of this structure and all things that's a part of this municipal complex. And I want to give you that detail. So we'll set that up when everybody is available, and then have the contractors give us a great laydown, and so we can see what this thing looks like.
Sounds good.
Okay, but all good questions, and we're working closely with the administrator to make sure that we stay on target. I spoke with her briefly last week during the Census 2020 conference we had with Lieutenant Governor, and I just kind of did an asthma check on her, that, you know, and to ensure that they're moving forward with this thing, and so we can move past this and get this building up. And in 18 months, we should have us a new structure here.
Mayor, I got one other thing.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to thank yourself, the town of Andrews, and town council for the thoughts and prayers where my wife lost her father this past week.
Yes, sir. We still keep you in the prayers, and you know, it's a tough thing, but we hope you guys are moving along very well.
Thank you, sir.
And with that too, Mr. Duncan, one of our employees here, lost his uncle today. And so we ask that you keep the Duncan family in your prayers as they grieve the loss of one of their loved ones. Okay, Mr. Lee, anything?
I don't have anything to commit.
Okay,
I just want to tell Councilman Altman, I'm sorry about his wife loss. I'm really sorry.
yes, sir. Absolutely. Did I miss anyone? Anything from clerk, administrator?
Did he hear me, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, I think you did. Mr. Altman, you're muted, sir.
Thank you, sir. I heard you.
Okay. All right. Anything from the clerk? You're muted, ma'am.
All is well.
Okay. Administrator?
Nothing here, sir.
Okay. All right. Well, if there are any other questions or anything, we have come to the conclusion of our meeting. A very long one, but I think we got a lot accomplished, and I appreciate everyone's time and all the work that you're doing out there. Again, you know, when we're not on the big screen here and working with the citizens out there with these flooding, that's an ongoing project. The flooding, had a conference today with Congressman Rice office, as well as all the smart folks out there out of the county team with respect to the flood mitigation survey that's been going on. We got a great laydown. We now understand where the problems are. That was the first phase of this thing. It's been going on for the last 8 months. And so we now know almost exactly where the problems are. That's phase one. There's $3.3 million that's set aside now for the construction of our storm drain system in the town here. That's not enough, so we're continuing to seek dollars again to get that system where we won't have water sitting in folks' yard. And again, a lot of work has gone into that. I often hear from council members about being out there with the citizens. I appreciate that, and also want to recognize our county council members who are always out there trying to help with those things. It's tough. We still have folks that are being flooded out along Popular, Tamarack, up here on Jones Avenue in some areas, down there off of Miller Road. And so there's about 8 hot spots or water, I shouldn't say hot spot, but areas that hold water. And they've identified those now and have solutions in place. Now it's a matter of what can we afford? How do we prioritize this thing? And so again, to Mr. Art Baker and the team out of Georgetown, and I think it's Santec, I believe it is, if I'm not mispronouncing his name, that company that's doing this work with a lot of high-tech stuff to identify the issues here. So we're in a great place right now to receive funds. And I think there's about either $75 or $150 million that the state have now dedicated to flood mitigation for the state. It's not all coming to Andrews, for the state. But I think we're in the best position right now to start to receive those things, because we've already identified and have real data that show where we need, where we can begin to work. And so we're working with Congressman Rice's office and others who have access to these resources, so we can go ahead and move forward to begin. But in the meantime, we still have to do the local work. Again, still hold the county, ourselves, and the state responsible for these ditches, some of the other areas that we're required to maintain on a regular basis. So we're not going to run those dollars. We're going to have to keep working on this system again to just kind of relieve some of this water out of people's homes. But that's where we are right now, and I will pause there for any alibis. If none.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
In the future, can I ask that we get invited to some of this just so we can keep up and inform the citizens what's going on, like the meeting that was today?
Yes, absolutely. We'll Ms. Parson, just make sure. I guess it's because it's so fluent, just check my calendar and we'll shoot those out, all those meetings, to whomever's available can chime in on it. Okay, all right.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir, no problem. All right, we're done at the adjournment. Council, what's your pleasure?
Make a motion that we adjourn.
Second, Mayor.
Moving to second, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much and all be safe out there. Protect yourselves at all times. So y'all be blessed.
All right.